There are places in Australia where people refuse to whistle into the bush. Not because of snakes, not because of wild animals, but because something might answer. Across parts of the country, Aboriginal communities have passed down stories of a towering figure covered in dark hair that watches from the trees. Many outsiders dismiss it as folklore until they spend one night in the wrong place. In 2017, a wildlife surveyor left behind an audio recorder during a routine expedition in northern New South Wales. The next morning, he refused to play the recording in front of his team. When investigators later listened to it, they heard only wind, followed by a quiet human voice whispering, "You shouldn't have come back." Ryan Cooper had worked in wildlife conservation for almost 10 years. He documented koalas, tracked wallabies, installed motion cameras in remote forests. He believed in science, not monsters. When his team received permission to survey a stretch of protected woodland near an isolated valley, Ryan treated it like every other assignment. Dense eucalyptus forest,
dry creek beds, hundreds of bird calls echoing through the canopy. The nearest town sat almost 60 kilometers away. On the drive in, an older local fueling his truck noticed the equipment in Ryan's vehicle. He leaned against the window and asked quietly, "You're camping out there?" Ryan nodded. The man hesitated, then replied, "If the bush goes quiet, leave." Ryan smiled politely. He assumed the warning referred to wild animals. Later that afternoon, an Aboriginal ranger joined the survey team. Before entering the forest, he offered only one piece of advice. If you hear your own voice coming from the trees, don't answer it. No explanation followed.
The first 2 days passed normally. Cameras recorded kangaroos, possums wandered through camp, owls called after sunset. Everything matched expectations. Then, on the third evening, the forest became completely silent. No insects, no birds, no wind. Ryan later wrote in his field notebook, "I've never heard silence this loud." Even the ranger stopped walking. He slowly scanned the trees. Without speaking, he motioned everyone back toward camp. Nobody argued. That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. Just after midnight, he heard footsteps circling his tent. Slow, heavy, crunch, pause, crunch, pause. He unzipped the flap. Nothing. Only moonlit gum trees stretching endlessly into darkness.
At sunrise, the team discovered prints surrounding the campsite. Not kangaroo, not human. Each impression looked almost like a barefoot footprint, but nearly twice the size. The stride suggested something unusually tall. Ryan photographed everything. One team member joked it was probably erosion. Nobody laughed. The Aboriginal ranger quietly brushed sand over every track. Ryan protested. "We should preserve these." The ranger answered softly, "Some things shouldn't be followed." Ignoring advice, Ryan checked the nearest camera trap. The memory card contained hundreds of ordinary images: possums, foxes, wallabies. Then one frame froze him. Near the edge of the clearing stood what appeared to be a massive, upright figure, completely covered in dark hair. only half visible behind a eucalyptus trunk. The timestamp read 2:41 a.m., the very moment he'd heard footsteps. He enlarged the image. Pixels blurred. The figure remained impossible to identify. Not enough detail to confirm anything. Just enough to feel wrong.
Before leaving, Ryan retrieved an audio recorder left beside the creek. Back in town, he finally played it. For almost 6 hours, there was nothing except frogs and distant wind. Then came footsteps, branches cracking, heavy breathing, a long silence, and finally, Ryan's own voice, calm, perfectly clear, calling his own name. Except Ryan had been asleep inside his tent at that exact time. The recording ended with one final sound. A low laugh. Not loud, not aggressive. Just close enough to make someone instinctively look over their shoulder. Ryan never returned to that valley. Neither did the rest of his survey team.
Today, visitors passing through nearby communities occasionally hear stories about the hairy man. Some compare it to Bigfoot. Others insist those comparisons miss the point entirely. Because, according to local tradition, the hairy man isn't an animal, it isn't a lost species, and it isn't looking for people. It only appears after someone ignores the warnings. Years after the expedition, Ryan was asked during an interview whether he believed the figure in the photograph was real. He paused for a long time, then quietly replied, "I don't know what it was, but whatever stood outside my tent already knew my voice." And if old stories are to be believed, once something in the bush learns your voice, it never forgets it.